My name is Host Eric, host Talking with Famous People, and I'm here with Imran from Bangladesh. This video live stream
Yeah.
is about personality types, cognitive functions, typing, MBTI, and all manner of attentional taxonomy, which comprises a lot of what we talk about here on Talking with Famous People. Now, Imran here, he showed up in the
Yeah.
room with not with having no idea about the YouTube channel, or I suspect he came here via a site that linked to this place where you go to learn
Yeah.
English. Is that right?
Yeah. You're right.
Okay. We've gotten some we've gotten some visitors lately via that thing, and of course such people are always welcome. I just started a live stream, Kim. If you can find it yourself.
Looking, so I'm trying to.
Oh sure, I'll do the best I can for you. What do you need duct tape for?
Duct tape to tape up that hole in the window that's making the rain cold.
Okay.
Or just tape.
I'll get it right now. Come fix it. Okay. As a general rule, I've got the same problems in life that everybody else has, which is women. You could be. It doesn't matter what you are or what you're doing. If it's your woman, she doesn't think it's important enough not to interrupt you. Sorry, friends, for the disappearance act there. Uh, Kimberly's not a person who understands what she's asking a lot of times. So she says, "Do you have any duct tape?" And it's a good way to segue into personality types. Kimberly has polar TE, which means she doesn't have a good sense of what's a good way to fix something or a good approach to efficiency in terms of how one would go about attaining an outcome. So when she says, "Can I have some duct tape?" I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? This is not a good sign. I have to ask what she wants the duct tape for. She wants to cover over a hole in a window. Well, This is an example of bad TE. If I had done it the way, if I'd given her duct tape, later on she'd be complaining because it looks terrible. We need to fix the window, but if we're not going to fix the window, we're going to put tape over it, at least put clear tape over it, right? So, and if I hand her the clear tape, she's never, she's in the middle of a client. Even if she did want to do it, she is not. So I just had to go do it for her. Anyway, welcome guests who just arrived, and if anybody would like to be typed, I'd be happy to type them. So cognitive functions are kind of the bread and butter of this channel, and the Jungian cognitive function model, typology, personality types. As a general rule, the reason I've found myself engaging in so much analysis on attentional manners, which is really what cognitive functions are, is because I find it to be an incredibly effective way to explain how or why people behave the way they do, argue the way they do, etc. And for me, cognitive functions often come down to a matter of manner of argumentation. As a debate coach, I tend to see all language as essentially sets of arguments and or meaningless stuff. So how people argue is very much determined by how they attend to reality, or in other words, how they manifest the self via certain kinds of attentions over others. My manner of attention that's preferred is ideation, or talking about stuff, coming up with new things to say or new ideas, new meanings about things. It makes it a good fit for me to be a YouTube creator, provided I can constrain my extroverted intuition into being topical, being organized, conveying information well. Then this is right up my alley. And of course, I also have to make sure that the information I provide is provided in a way that makes people like me. I've heard that all of success in life can be boiled down to conveying to others that you are warm, conveying to others that you are competent. Of course, it's actually being competent, but that's kind of part of going into conveying to others that you're competent. For me, competence in general is not difficult at all in some areas. It's difficult to attain or convey in other areas. Warmth is intermittently a challenge for me. And the reason is, it's a matter of which thing do you pay attention to habitually? Do I habitually pay attention to making sure people perceive me as warm? Do I habitually pay attention to making sure people perceive me as reliable? Do I habitually pay attention to making sure people perceive me as competent? And if so, how? The answer is I habitually pay attention to making sure people perceive me as right and intelligent rather than particularly anything else. So part of my growth as a human being then is understanding that my attentional habits are those things that limit me to manners of existence most comfortable to myself. I'm going to pause now to see if either Missing X or Imran has any questions or comments, or if Missing X perhaps is here to be typed. Go ahead. Missing X?
Maybe here is some problem in my internet network connection.
Say again?
I have some problem in my internet network connection.
Oh, okay.
That's why I do not see you clearly.
That's fine. I'm used to monologuing anyway. It's perfectly fine. So
okay.
One of the things that I've experienced over the course of the development of the time here is a development of my understanding of cognitive functions, and also an understanding of how my own biases and my own limitations can make my assessments of people incorrect and or make me interpret their behavior incorrectly because I've assumed certain things about them. And I got a couple of good examples recently that I think are important to mention to display why people have a problem with cognitive function model or why people might take exception to it. So one thing that I have been fairly certain about for a long time.
Actually, condition of time is 1 a.m. I have to go to sleep.
Goodbye. You don't feel any need to say hi or bye. Just come and go as you please. No trims, no streets, no stress. Anywho,
Okay.
Bye. Nick is somebody who's been in my life for a long time. He was a fairly early adopter to the Raw Room forum here, and right when he first entered into the community, right off the bat, he attempted basically a social hostile takeover, in which he accused me of specific wrongdoings that I hadn't done. He had been accused of these specific wrongdoings. I'm not sure if he did them or not, but he defended himself by turning it on to me that I had done it. This made no sense in any possible real world. It made no sense at all. After all, well, relatively early adopter, he wasn't there at the beginning. I've been doing this thing for quite some time, and I had never done anything like that before. There was nothing in the existent body of work, comments, statements, data, anything that suggested that I would have been the one to send this anonymous, inappropriate message to this woman just so that I could later come in and save the day. The reason being, if this was my MO, first of all, why would this be the very first time I'd ever attempted anything remotely like that? And second of all, why wouldn't I actually have come in and saved the day rather than what I did, which was come in and go, well, yeah, it's interesting. She told me about it. I didn't come in and save the day. I just noted it and kind of wondered about it. Didn't really think it was a super big deal. So he had a problem with the facts, but he was confident in his ability to frame things to get other people to interpret them the way that he interpreted them. And of course, he had me back on my heels for a little bit there until I got him pinned down and worked him pretty good. Once I had done that, he sort of fed in a bit. He started to gradually. He'd have problems with the community and blah, blah, blah. I was convinced he was an ENTP, and I've been convinced of his ENTP-hood for quite some time. And it would come up periodically. I don't think Nick's an ENTP. A lot of people would say that. I think he's an ENFJ. And I'd sort of test him, and he'd display ENTP, and I'd say, I think he's an ENTP. Well, at long last, I've concluded that he's an ENFJ for sure. And I realized once I made that conclusion, I should have realized it a long time ago. I should have been less clinging to my personal attachment to the idea that he was an ENTP, because he seemed to want to be an ENTP and he kept demonstrating it to me. Of course, as an ENFJ, what they do is master faking things really, really well. So I don't really exactly kick myself, but it's indicative of why it's risky to draw a lot of conclusions based on perceived type. Risky, but also ultimately resolving. I'm quite certain I'm not going to ever change my mind about Nick's type again. And the same thing is true of Taylor. Taylor, I typed initially as an ESTP. Then he told me he was an ENTP. And I proceeded to find reasons why that would be the case over time. And there were some good reasons why it could be the case. The fact that he didn't ultimately display as an ENTP, though, meant that lots of people kept saying he's not an ENTP, he's an ESTP. I've eventually become convinced that they're right. Let me see what this question is here about cognitive functions. What do the cognitive functions look like in a person's behavior? Well, I mean, the thing about a person's behavior is an individual human being expresses their existence by attending to things. Like right now, I'm being Eric by answering this question, being here, attending to this ideational stuff. The reason I'm attending to the ideational stuff, how cognitive functions explain people's behavior and stuff like that, is because it's right in my wheelhouse. I'm an extroverted intuitor. It's very natural for me to talk about this kind of stuff and to talk improvisationally in general. So in that regard, you could see if you just sit here and listen to me talk for a while, and you know about cognitive functions, you'd probably be able to conclude pretty quickly that I'm an ENTP or maybe an INTP, or at least alpha quadra. And the reason is because alpha quadra, the ESFJ, ISFJ, ENTP, INTP, they all use the 4 same functions in their conscious stack. And I've divided the function stacks into 4 sections: your strong conscious, your weak conscious, your helpful, your development unconscious, and your optimization unconscious. So your strong conscious is your ego block, basically. It's your first and second function. People in alpha quadra are all going to use TI, and they're all going to use NE. As an alpha quadra member, I use them NETI first. So I talk a lot about ideas that aren't linked to feelings or relationships. When asked to describe people's behavior, I use a lot of words that don't actually describe people's behavior, or how cognitive functions express in people's behavior. I've done a lot of talking right now, and I haven't described very many behaviors, except I've noted what I'm doing right now, which is improvisationally talking about ideas. Because I have FETI, rather than FITE, I am merry. And what it means to be merry is to say that I prefer that the conversation be ongoing, fairly jovial, that it represent a positive social interaction amongst group members that's idea-based and that doesn't really link the ideas to the people, per se. Now, FE does, but in a status-y kind of a way. So alpha quadra members tend to all hang out together and get along well and enjoy each other's company. And when talking to each other, the other party simply makes sense to you. It's like, okay, I get you. I'll get ESFJ, I'll get ISFJ, I'll get INTP, I'll get ENTP on that sort of intuitively connected level because we all share the same 4 conscious functions. So each of us is never using a modality that's unconscious to the other one. As a consequence, the behavioral aspects of things are often going to be what people talk about. It's true that you could look at somebody and say, how often do they go mountain biking? How often do they go jogging? How often do they do blah, blah, blah? And draw conclusions about the fact that there may be a sensor instead of an intuitive. Sensors are more likely to regularly and persistently over the course of their life engage in physical activities designed to be an end in themselves or part of a process of improving their body or health. Intuitives generally are less likely to do that. But most of what everyone does most of the time is talk. So when you're analyzing people's behavior, you're generally going to be analyzing for anything that's meaningfully subject to analysis. You're generally going to be dealing with people's talkings and the way they talk and what they mean and stuff like that. So, okay, how do you join? Okay, Joey Knight, you join by going to here, peer.in/TWFP2. Peer.in/TWFP2. If anybody would like to come and join and get typed, I'm happy to do that. If that's your specific goal, if you have questions, that's fine too. Guest, do you have a specific question, or are you here to be typed?
Yes. I didn't mean to interrupt you, my bad. I'm a subscriber. I'm in here now.
You didn't interrupt. I'm looking for people to come in. But I am going to ask you to either put on headphones or mute when you're not talking.
Headphones?
Or mute when you're not talking, because I'm getting a lot of echo. I'll put on headphones too.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, you're definitely not interrupting. That's the purpose of this, is for people to come and ask questions and guide the nature of the conversation, or get typed, or utilize the resource of whatever knowledge I have to bring to bear on their subject matter. While we're waiting for guests to complete his wiry headphone stuff. All right, I just asked a quick question. Is Trump an ESFJ? No, Trump is an ESTP. And one of the reasons you know he's an ESTP is the statement, the time for empty talk is over.
The time for empty talk is over.
That's SETI right there.
That's SETI right there.
Okay, so I'm still getting echo from you, Gus. Can you refresh your computer? It usually fix the audio issue. I mean, not the computer, the tab in the browser. All right, so yeah, ESTPs are not all bad people, and they're not all Trump, but when they turn out like that, that's what an ESTP looks like. So, Gus,
how do I mute myself?
Is your audio, is the speaker, or your speakers muted?
I muted it on, like, when I mute it, it mutes everything. Like, how do I just mute myself?
Okay, so if you want to, if you don't want to use headphones and you don't want this to be a problem, you just click mic off when you're not talking, and then turn it back on when you are.
Okay, so when I mute myself, though, I can't hear you. Like,
when you click mic off, you should be able to hear me.
When you click mic off, you should be able to hear me.
Where? All right. I don't know where the mic off is at.
Let me share screen. It's at the bottom of the room. There's a little thing that says stickers, share screen, mic off, cam off, leave.
Share screen, mic off, cam off, leave.
At the bottom. Oh, I see it.
Yep, you got it. That's mic off.
You got it. That's mic off.
Got it. All right.
All right. So, what do you have a question, or are you here to be typed, or what? You turn the mic on when you're talking, off when you're not talking.
Oh, there we go. On, off. So simple. Yeah. No. I want to. Yeah, I'd like to get typed, but here to listen too.
Right now, I'll type you right now.
Okay. Am I getting bad feedback?
I get echo of me. So what you should do is this. It's like this. Am I getting bad feedback?
No. Wait. There we go. I have shitty internet. You know what?
Okay. Well, let me start asking you a couple questions. Can you still hear me?
All right. There we go.
All right. So can you still hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, no, you can't because I'm mic off. Okay. That should be good. Is it working? My computer is struggling with the processor speed. I mean, I just like I'm asking it to do a lot of stuff right now. Let me close these other tabs. Okay, so hopefully everybody can hear me right now. And what I'm going to do is ask this guest a couple of basic questions that tend to start my typings. The first of which is, do you feel yourself more somebody who would say, I'm not fussy, I'm worried about how those people are going to react because I'll be fine regardless? Or are you somebody who's more likely to say, those people are going to worry about their own feelings, I'm worried about how I feel about this? Yeah, you.
Oh, I was not paying attention. I'm sorry.
Are you somebody who's more likely to identify with a sentence that says, I'm not fussy. I'm worried about how those people are going to react because they're likely to have a problem with this, and I'll be fine regardless. Or are you somebody who's more likely to say, those people can worry about their own emotions. I'm worried about how I feel about this.
Maybe I don't really care what people think. I mean, I do, but I don't really have. I don't know. It depends. There's not anything I feel that like strongly about usually, like that I like get.
Do you find yourself saying,
with.
I'm not fussy?
What do you mean by fussy?
If somebody's raising objections to something, how likely are you to feel like they're just being difficult and they need to just get over their fussiness and do it?
I mean, if it's something really personal to them, they're the ones being fussy, not me. But if it's like something that we can all agree about, and then I'm just complaining about it because I don't want to do it, that's fussy. But no, I don't think I'm fussy.
Okay.
It just. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. All right, can you mute while I ask this question?
Yes.
Okay. So this next question presents you with a hypothetical situation and asks you to do your pre-beginning analysis work out loud for me. So you've been told that your aunt, who you never knew existed, has died, and her house is full of stuff, and that you're going to get some decent money out of the thing, but before you can get any of it, you've got to organize all the stuff in her house, deciding what gets thrown away, what gets kept, what gets sold, and the stuff that gets kept, how how to organize it in the home as which the family's gonna keep, and they're gonna move somebody else in there who's a friend of hers or whatever that likes her stuff. For whatever reason, you're gonna keep all the stuff that you keep in the house. You're gonna throw some of it away. You're gonna sell some of it. I want you to walk me through. You've never seen the house. You don't know how big it is. You don't know any more details about it. Just know that to get your chunk of the inheritance, you have to do this task. I want you to walk me through the analysis process of what you do before you get to the house to think about how you're going to go about dealing with this.
If is she like dead in the house?
No, she's gone. The house is empty, just full of her stuff.
She's gone, dead. Dead or like, okay. So no dead body. That's good. It would it be? If it was somewhere fun. I mean, not to say that I would not want to go, but it depends where it's at.
Okay.
But
the will is accounted for some things. It's gotten you transportation to the home. It's a couple states away from wherever you are. It's gotten you a hotel to stay in for 2 weeks. And it's gotten you some money as a per diem for you to live on. And it's gotten you some money to hire a couple of laborers. Now, you haven't gotten to the place yet. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know how big it is. But you do know the details of what you're expected to do. Namely, sort through stuff, decide what gets kept, what gets sold, decide what to do with something that is being kept as well. So am I going to put it over here? Am I going to put it over there? You're supposed to reorganize everything that's kept so that it's orderly and maximizes the livability of the space for the next person. So you haven't seen it yet. What is your thinking about what you're going to do when you do see it? How are you going to assess it when you see it?
Oh, I mean, it sounds fun. Sounds like kind of an adventure to go exploring. I always like finding new things. That's fun. But I don't think I would definitely bring my sister along because and probably my buddy too. Bring him along, one of my best friends, and because she's organized, a little more organized, I would she would be sorting everything. I'd let her do that, and I would be finding the stuff that probably most people will throw out that can make use of. And I would be there. I would get people there, but then like I probably wouldn't really want to go like the day before because I hate packing and like it sounds fun.
I mean, the thing is, if you don't do it, you're not going to get your $50,000 from the inheritance.
Oh, I would get it. I would find a way. I would get it. I would get the money.
Well, I mean, it's stipulated. You get it for sure if you complete this task. It's the easiest, only certain way to get the money.
The easiest way to get the money.
It's the easiest and only certain way to get the money. The will stipulates that for you to get your $50,000, you need to do this organizational task. If you don't complete it by a certain date, the money goes to somebody else.
Well, if I would have to see it. I could definitely find.
Well, what's your
what is it again?
Okay.
What do you mean, like the?
So your aunt has died. You didn't know she existed, but she did.
Okay.
And she knew of you. And she included you in the will. You get $50,000. If and only if. After she dies, you go to her house and you use these resources that they've set up in advance. The fact that you have a hotel room, you have money to hire laborers, you have a per diem to live on, so that you have no reason why you can't do it. Okay? She set up all this stuff and she says, now you must do it sometime before this date a few months in the future. And if you don't get the $50,000. And it goes to this charity instead. Your mic's off.
Good now?
Yep.
All right. My bad. Yeah, I'm new to this app. It was kind of confusing. But it says in the will that I have to be there by a certain date. So I would be there and organizing and whatever stuff's in there. Getting the people together, that's technically organizing, right?
But the task is you have to complete the task by a certain date, which means her house has all the stuff that has in it now has been parsed. Some of it's been maybe kept by you. Some of it's been thrown away. Some of it's been sold. The proceeds going to the estate. And some of it has been kept in the house and organized and left there for the next residents of the house. You are supposed to be the one who makes sure this happens. You've completed this task. When you complete it to the adequacy of the will executor who comes in and says, "Yep, he did it," then you get a check $50,000.
Yeah, it would happen. I would be there. If I don't. Yeah, it sounds like all that's been taken care of. If I'll like by organizing all the stuff. yeah, getting family, people, friend, or whoever else is in the will. I'm sure that there'll be somebody who will want to be like, all right, we got to do this, move this. We'll start.
Okay, so
You
you're gonna
know,
find
kinda
somebody
being-
who's got the TE to do it. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
basically.
All right. Mute for a bit. Let me ask you another question that's kind of similar that hopefully I can get more useful information out of you on. It's the troll question. I don't know if you've ever heard it before. I'll ask it really quick. You are the mayor of a town. It's the Middle Ages. Your town is split in two by a river. On one half of the town are all the farms and the food. On the other half of the town are all the merchants and the goods. You are the mayor of this town, basically the king. What you say goes, but the populace turns to you when they have a problem. Now we have a problem. The bridge that connects one side of your town to the other has washed away in a storm. And because there's no bridge now, a river troll has come and taken up residence in your river. This river troll has begun implementing a troll tax, as he calls it. And what that means is every time you move food across the river from the farm side to the village side to the merchant side, he runs up to the boat really quickly and he steals 10% of the food. Doesn't matter how well hidden you have it, doesn't matter where it is in the boat, he steals that 10% and you cannot stop him. It's his magic power. Okay? So if you take one load of food across, if you have a dead cow in there, he'll take 10% of that. If you've got a loaf of bread in there, he'll take 10% of that. Doesn't matter what food it is, as long as it's food, he will take 10% of it. Now, here's the deal. You have just enough food stored up for winter to feed your whole populace, nobody starves. If you pay this 10% troll tax over the course of the winter, about 100 people in your village will starve to death. And that's a big deal because your village isn't that huge. And so the town is clamoring at you. Solve this problem for us, Mayor. Solve this problem. What do you do?
Well, good. You can hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, the trolls, I mean, I'm pretty sure that what is food to them? Like,
They take the tax on what's food to you.
So, I don't know. I would start naming everything is food. Everything's food. Like,
he knows what people eat. And he takes that. He's not looking to you to determine what you eat.
Well, I think that the village is probably, I'm the king or whatever, mayor. So I would say that we're too big of a village. We have too many people. So then we have too much food. And
no, you don't have too much food though. You have too little food.
Why not?
For the amount of people you have. Now you might say the village is too big. But before you'll have too much food, you'll have to get rid of a fair amount of people, which is what the villagers are wanting to try to prevent.
Well, this kind of sounds bad. I think that we have too many people, so maybe that would help start some of the problems that we have now. Because
are you going to just kill some of the people, or are you going to deport them, or what?
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But I would let whatever happens. Not to say.
Okay, the villagers come to you and say, "Hey, king. Instead of just not doing anything and seeing what happens, why don't we do something? And try to prevent it from happening."
Maybe, I don't know. Why not get another troll, or get a wizard?
Okay, well, you could recruit a wizard. What kind of spell are you looking for this wizard to be able to cast? I know what you are, by the way.
Maybe to put him so you could communicate with it. the
You
troll
can talk to him. He
better,
speaks English.
and that you could. I would build an arena, a big arena like the Rome Coliseum, and get other trolls, and have the wizard build things so that we could watch them fight.
How are you going to get them to fight each other?
Got a wizard.
Well, but I mean, you can't even stop them from stealing your food. How are you going to get them to fight another troll?
I would tell them that the winner gets the 10% of the food.
But there's only one troll here now, and he already gets his 10%. If you bring another troll, what's to stop him from saying, well, we'll just both take 10% and not fight each other?
Well, if there's one troll, there's got to be another one. So I would get my knights to find more.
Okay, but let's say you successfully entice another troll to come here, and all he does is take another 10%. Now you're losing 20% of your food.
Yeah, but we're making 50% more money.
On
where
what?
we can buy more food.
On what?
The betting.
How are you making them fight each other?
How are you making them fight each other?
I don't know. Just find out. You can make a troll angry somehow.
But why are the trolls going to be angry to fight at each other when you're the one annoying them?
I could find a way.
Okay. I believe I know what you are right now, but let me check some other things here. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to give you a conditional logic problem, and I'm going to repeat it a few times so that you can hear it a few times, so that remembering is not a problem. Okay, and this is the problem. If I play soccer on Saturday in the game, then either mom or dad will be in attendance to watch me, but not both. And the only way I'm not going to play in the soccer game on Saturday morning is if I injured myself at practice earlier today. Also, it is not the case that mom is available to watch the soccer game because she has a meeting. And I did not hurt myself at practice earlier today. What can we conclude? That's the question. I'm going to repeat it. If I play soccer on Saturday morning, either mom or dad will be in attendance to watch me, but not both. And I will play soccer on Saturday morning unless I hurt myself at practice earlier this afternoon. And mom is not available to watch me play soccer because she has a meeting. And I did not hurt myself at practice earlier this afternoon. Therefore, what? I'll repeat it one more time. If I play soccer on Saturday morning, then either mom or dad will be in attendance to watch me, but not both. And I will play soccer on Saturday morning unless I hurt myself at practice earlier this afternoon. And mom is not available to watch me play soccer because she has a meeting. And I did not hurt myself at practice earlier this afternoon. Well, what can we conclude? Or ask me to repeat it again is fine.
What are you asking? What are we concluding? That
what's a valid
it appears
conclusion?
that I have two moms or two dads. And that wait, what was I? How did I hurt myself? Like what?
I'll repeat it one more time. Okay, mute and let me repeat it. If I play soccer on Saturday morning, either mom or dad will watch me play, but not both of them. And I will play soccer Saturday morning if I did not hurt myself at practice earlier this afternoon. And Mom can't watch me play soccer because she has a meeting. Therefore, and I did not hurt myself at practice earlier this afternoon. Therefore, what?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Now.
That's it.
That's it. Like,
So what can we conclude?
So what can we conclude?
you
Do I
said
play
it.
soccer?
Do I play soccer?
Yeah.
Is Mom there to watch me?
Is Mom there to watch me?
No.
Is Dad there to watch me?
Is Dad there to watch me?
Yes.
Did I hurt myself?
Did I hurt myself?
No. Yes. No.
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 If
no.
if I had hurt myself,
If I had hurt myself,
who would have watched me
who would have watched me
play soccer on Saturday?
play soccer on Saturday?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just picturing something. But all right. Wait, what? I'm sorry.
All right. If I had hurt
I'm
myself
sorry.
If I had hurt myself
at practice earlier today, who would have watched me play soccer on Saturday?
Dad.
Dad?
Dad?
Or myself.
Okay. All right.
Other people.
I have
The
another.
troll, I don't know.
I have
What's-
another
I have
typing
another-
question
I have
for you.
another
It's a pretty
typing
quick
question
one.
for you.
Do you consider yourself extroverted or introverted?
It really depends on the setting. I would say I can be, I would say, yeah, extroverted, but I can appear introverted sometimes, I think, to people.
If you're out having a good time
If you're out
with
having a
friends
good time
partying,
with friends partying,
are you enjoying it a
are
lot
you
and
enjoying
then
it a
think to
lot
yourself,
and
okay,
then think to
now it's
yourself,
time to go
okay,
home and reflect and sort of re-experience it in my mind? Or do you have the experience where you go, what do you mean let's go home? Let's keep going. We're all having a good time. Let's just keep rolling. Which of those two is it?
The first one, definitely.
Okay. So
okay.
I think you're an
So,
ISFP.
I think you're an ISFP.
Huh.
Do you have any idea coming in what
Do you
type you
have
thought
any
you
idea
were?
coming in what type you thought you were?
Yeah.
What did you think?
What did you think?
I thought ENTP.
Okay. You thought
Okay.
ENTP.
You thought
Uh,
ENTP.
All right. Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
What I tested there first was FEFI, and you do seem to be FE by and large. So that one is not consistent with ISFP. ISFP is an introverted feeler, but I tested. You test as though your solution to things is an FE style solution, which means that would suggest either ESFJ, ISFJ, or potentially INFJ, or potentially ENFJ. But I don't see that as being predominant in your attentional approach. While it does seem as though looking to others to provide solvency is one of the strategies you employ, I don't see it as being consistent with the attentional approach of FE, but rather as TE seeking, probably. In other words, you look to others to handle the how to do stuff part. And so that would suggest to me FI Dom with TE seeking. But the next thing I tested was your extroverted intuition. How many possible ways can you come up with to deal with a given situation? So I gave you first the question about What was it about? I don't remember the one before the troll question. What did I ask you about? Does anybody remember the thing before the troll question?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But then I shifted to the troll question to look for possibilities. So the thing about the troll question is one thing you could do with that troll question is you could say, okay, well, I want to go negotiate with the troll, or you could say, I want to try to kill the troll, or you could say, I want to find a way to avoid the troll's powers, or you could say, I want to find a way to make the troll go away. Or you could say, I want to find a way to reduce our food consumption needs, which is the first thing you did. You said, well, let's kill the people, basically. Like, let's kill a bunch of people. But the thing is, you say, well, it looks like our town is too big because what you were presented with is the fact that you didn't have enough food for the population. And you were dealing with the status quo as it was, right? Well, in the status quo, with this troll, we don't have enough food for the population, so obviously our population is too big. Even though I had said explicitly, well, here's the source of the problem, instead of trying to solve the problem by rendering it not a problem in that way, in other words, going back to stop the source of the problem for causing it, you made the problem not a problem anymore by addressing the problem directly. So that's kind of a TE approach rather than a TI approach, and it's probably a low in the stack TE approach. And then the next thing I tested with the conditional logic problem was your TI. TI is conditional logic. And so it keeps track of all those words, what they mean, and how they contradict or don't contradict each other. So if you have TI high in the stack, ENP has it second, you're going to be able to do those conditionality problems no problem. You're going to get the idea of it. It's going to be intuitively comfortable for you. If you're an SFP, it's not.
No, that's why, like, what you said, though, was all, like, in the present. Like, it didn't make sense. That's why I was like, you said it.
Well, see, that's why it's conditional logic. It's not subject to time. In other words, if you're on a computer right now, if I click this change new tab, can you mute so I don't get the echo? If I click on something, it goes someplace. If I then click on something else, it goes someplace. If I push back, it goes back. If I push back in, it goes back. These things are true outside of time, right? It's like this relationship of forward, back, and interactivity that is an if-then kind of a process. It doesn't matter. I can refer to steps as though you could go backwards and forwards in time. Now let's pretend that if I got hurt, I would go to the hospital instead of if I got hurt, I would go to the park. We're not talking about time at all. We're talking about relationships between words.
Eric.
Yeah.
I got like a few minutes before I got to log off, but I had like a next chapter to his troll story. If you want to actually like hear him engage in it instead of just hear his account of it.
Okay, well, why don't you take over the questioning here or interacting with him, Audra, and see if you can figure out any additional things that will help us to determine type.
Okay, yeah. Well, I had a next chapter in the troll story. Like he asked for we had an established. I had to switch devices. So anyway, we were at a state. He had moved all his people to one side of the river. He had come to the attention of this troll killing warrior king that had a lot of lands and power and stuff. And they came in and they captured the troll and took over the other side of the river, where we're kind of the fortifications and the more valuable part of his village, just lay abandoned. And so his people were scared, and that's kind of where we left off. And so we agreed that we talked about it. And after I mentioned it, he said he had mentioned trying to turn the troll, which is, to me, that was the solution out there. So he went and he sent a spy. You sent a spy. So here's where we'll bring it. You sent a spy. He released the troll. The troll went off and rallied all of the big, strong, evil, magical creatures that hate this king. And this took several weeks though. And so in the meantime, the king, brought more troops to this village. He's, produced more fortifications. He's really, really dug in, right? And you did your best, but I mean, really all you could do was keep your people alive while you waited on this troll army. So you have a troll army, but you've also got this dug in, very powerful enemy. Definitely will be losses, might not win. But your people are behind you this time. They're like, no, we you know, we've already been run from our home once. We don't want to do it again. You know, we're here to fight.
Okay,
You know,
so
no matter what. So everyone's behind you, but your odds are questionable. And so the king sees this, and you've also like tried to find out information. You've heard that he's a reasonable king. He's also can be quite violent and is not can be very ruthless, but isn't a cruel person. Just has but also has no give. And so he sends this message. So he sends a messenger by and says, I have a message from the king. I see that you have been arming yourselves. We've heard of the troll army, and we wish to come to a peace before we have war. Why should all of you die for a lost cause? What would you say?
did you get all of that?
I did, but not. Kind of.
Basically, the king sent a messenger to give you an opportunity to kind of respond, right? To make a peace before this turns to war.
Do you want peace or you want conquest?
And so you have a chance to send a message back to the king.
Well, the king of the trolls?
No,
the king who took over the other side of the village.
Yeah. You've got trolls and you've got people. You have an army. You know if you'll win. Right? You now have the option. Like, your people will fight. Your army will fight. They will follow you to the death now. So it's on you. Fight or try to make peace.
I don't know.
What makes it a hard decision?
Because I don't know what are do I have like I have trolls, correct?
Yeah, you have a great army. It will be a war.
Be a serious war.
Right, you would inflict great damages upon the king. You have a good chance of taking your village back, doing great damages. But the outcome is really in question, and you're still the underdog. You know. But you might be enough problem that he might just go, okay, I'll take your, I'm done now. I'll go back to my other lands, and I'm done fighting. Right? You have a chance. You've got a chance if you fight.
I mean, I would try to make a good deal.
Oh, so you're open to negotiations? Says the messenger. He says, my king. He says this is occurred before. He said you will allow half of your people to work for us in a peasant capacity. You are great farmers. And you shall produce this food. And the other half, those that do not farm, you will turn them over as slaves. But you, sir, you shall go free. You may come and live on our island capital city as a merchant, and you should be allowed. You'll have a good life.
I would challenge. I would just say, hey, I'll tell your king to come say it to my face, and then I would one-on-one.
So you would challenge the king to a duel.
Yeah.
And the messenger says, "I'm my king." He loves such duels. He, doesn't get to fight himself much. He shall love this proposal. I guarantee he will accept it.
And then I would tell the messenger to. I know that your king enjoys dueling his sword with other men, but I'm not into that.
You
and I'm
just
gonna
challenged him.
Well, no, but she said that he likes dueling. He loves duels.
He said he accepted your
I
challenge.
take that as that he likes having sword fights, but not using an actual sword.
No, he wants to fight you to the death. Are you gonna push out or are you gonna fight it?
Says, the king will be thrilled. I guarantee he'll accept your challenge. Do you wish to choose the weapon or the place, as is your right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a duel with him.
All right, you choose weapon or place. You may choose one of the two. He will choose the other.
I would just meet him in the middle. Like, we just meet at this place, and that's it.
No, this is a formal duel. You are allowed to either choose the weapons that will be used, or you're allowed to choose the place the duel will occur. One of the two. The king shall choose the other.
I mean, a sword. That's a duel.
Not necessarily.
Right?
Not necessarily. Doesn't have to be a sword.
Well, I would
weapon. You can
be
pick
really
no
good
weapon.
with
If you choose the weapon. If you choose the weapon.
You know what? No, it would be just bare knuckle.
All right. So you've chosen the weapons. My king shall choose a place. Okay. And so it goes on, and he chooses this place. You know, on top of this rock thing with straight sides off. You know, it's only like 30 feet round. It's 100 feet down either side, straight rock. There's no loose rocks. There's no sand. The weather's clear, and there's no one that can help you. Right? It's too far for anybody to throw anything. You're alone on this monolith of a rock with the king unarmed, and that's the situation of the duel.
Okay, perfect. I would get him up there, and I would get a giant cannonball and like just hit that rock, and then he'll just fall off that cliff or whatever.
And you'll die too.
No, I won't, because I'll be.
You're both up there. This is precarious. I mean,
you said we're the only ones up there. If we're the only ones up there, though, that's what I would do. I would just blow up that cliff or whatever. Then
you would sacrifice yourself to kill this king.
No, not me.
No, you'll die. This is a very precarious rock thing.
You're up on the rock.
You kill the king, you'll die too.
I would get my wizard to put a protection thing on me, a cloak.
The king has wizards. He would have checked for that. You're only unarmed.
I got better. Mine are better.
Okay, guest. Can I ask you a question? Can you mute for a second? Thank you. All right, so Audra, ask me some sort of equivalent question without nearly as much detail, so I can demonstrate that the way that I answer the question is very different from the way that he answered the question, and we can note.
Yeah.
Okay, and we won't spend a long time
go
on
ahead
it, but
and
it
you can
sounds like
start
fun.
noting. I'm done.
No, ask me. Go ahead. You guide. I'll answer.
All right.
Audra.
All right, we'll go ahead and analyze. I mean, you can do
I'm saying I want you to ask me equivalent questions so I can demonstrate how I answer and we can compare.
Oh, you. Okay. So since let's rewind to the when the messenger arrives.
Okay.
And put you there.
I'd be happy to negotiate. Let's negotiate a deal. I'll tell you what. You guys can pay this much tribute to us every month until you've paid back the total value of the stuff you've already taken. And on those grounds, we will not attack you.
And the messenger says, it's like, should be feared. We are being kind and offering you.
Okay, messenger, you need to shut your fucking. Hey, messenger, you need to shut your fucking mouth. I'm gonna send your head back on a platter to the other king. Okay, so you send this message back to him.
And the message. All right,
hey, messenger, you need to shut your fucking mouth.
All right, so you cow the messenger. He's scared of you and scared of his king, and goes back and recounts the events. But no agreement was made.
So I send a messenger saying, I would like to negotiate if you are serious about it and are willing to offer me something that makes me feel as though there's been a movement towards an equilibrium, then I might be willing to consider it out of general consideration for the value of human life. On the other hand, justice is necessary as well. So if you want to work with me, send a messenger back that says, yes, okay, for reals. Otherwise, I'm coming.
The king sends a message back, says, I have not heard an offer yet. I have no reason to think that you have anything to offer. It was out of my kindness that I gave you a chance to make an offer.
Okay, so I'm not gonna bother negotiating with this guy anymore. Send his messenger back. I'm not gonna kill the messenger because that's not cool. All right, so I'm gonna start exploring alternate means of attacking. So I got my troll army, but I need more of an advantage here than I currently have. Since I'm on.
So what's your goal? Are you going to try to take back the village and just make it difficult enough that
I'm gonna try to kill the king?
Like, yeah, whatever.
I'm gonna try to kill the king because I hold the king responsible.
So if you took it back and and then just stopped, he'd probably just ignore you because he's not vengeful. He's like I don't see any point in giving it back. So but if you took it and he's like, yeah, I don't really care. I'll just leave it alone. So you could get your village back. Stop there. If you took the fight to his other lands, to him personally, then you would have to utterly crush him.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking assassination, right? My first thought is, how can I assassinate this guy? So do I have any network of spies on the other side of the river?
They're not trained spies, but you have a few informants at this point. They're
are any of them
farmers, comely? They're not trained, but they're around.
How about comely young lasses? Do we have any comely young lasses in the network?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to try to get the network to determine how lascivious is this guy? How much of a perv is he? If he's a perv, that's an angle we can work. I need to know what angles we can work here, see? So
all right, it's uncertain. Your spies come back unclear. He does have a penchant for he staffs his entire slave staff in his castle is young women, young comely women. That's all we know. We don't know if
he could just be helping orphans, right? For all we know.
Right. You can't prove that,
right.
Like no one has ever no one knows that he's perv, but that's all we know.
So is there a religion in the area that people ascribe to? Is it Christianity or something equivalent?
Your people are no slavery. Your village is pretty nice. Like they're kind of they're not a warring people.
But they take care of each other. There fervency of faith in anything? Are there social mores against free sex that would cause people to be outraged by this behavior on the part of the king?
Your people might. The king's people would not. He's a pretty serious conqueror. Like he took over and kind of imposed. So his will is religion. Yeah.
He's kind of gang.
Well, he was the guy or the me that ran off with the sea serpent to take over the world.
Okay.
And this is many years later, and he's taken over a lot of it.
So, the first thing I'm going to do is try to spread a rumor that gets back to the king that now that he's gotten a little bit older, he's become impotent. He's no longer able to have sex with women. Okay? And I'm going to hope that my spy, I try to get my comely young lass spy in vicinity and hope that he's motivated to try to prove himself enough that he goes and starts dating more chicks just to show how big of a stud he is, right? Now, concurrently, I'm going to try to come up with...
He's a very businessman king. He's just like,
Right,
he doesn't really, he doesn't have any threats to his power right now. I mean, you're the biggest thorn in his side at the moment. So
okay, but what I'm asking you is, surely there are some standards that the people as a whole in this culture over there will weaken the king in their eyes. I want to know how I can start a disinformation campaign that's going to work here. So I need to know what the social mores are that would cause the people to view him as less viable of a king. Regardless, they might still not fight against him because he's so violent, but it would cause him to lose his respect as FE grounds. But yeah. Are there any such? Nope. Audra's gone. Anyway, that's how I answer the question.
Wait, the king though, or the other king, remember he liked dueling with other men. So.
Yeah, but he actually meant he liked to duel. And as we heard, he's got a bunch of young chicks. Hot young chicks, like I believe mature, not children, but
Mature, not children, but
regardless, my point is that's a different way of answering the question than the way you answered the question, right?
So what?
I said it's a very different way of answering the question.
It's a very different way of answering the question.
Yeah.
It's because I'm looking first and foremost to what possible things can I do? What possible things can I eliminate? And how can I parse out a meaning-based solution to this meaning-based problem? And what you're doing, as far as I can tell, with your attention, is you are judging the things based on an authentication matrix that says, how much do I value these elements within the equation, and accordingly determine outcomes. But that's not very useful in a situation like the one we're describing, of which everything is an abstraction. None of those things have any authentic value to you because they're just random ideas. So it's difficult for you to decide what to do.
Yeah. It was just kind of a different question, I guess.
If you were going to ask just a straight up simplest MBTI test ever, it would be like this. Choose between new ideas and new change to the world. Guest, can you mute? Not you. Other guest. All right. Well, I muted you on my end, so it's not getting broadcast on the live stream. Anyway, do you prefer to act ideationally, to come up with new ideas, or to make shit happen in the world? That's question number one.
Make shit happen.
Okay. That's SE over NE. Now the next question. Do you prefer that which is authentic?
No. Not make shit happen. I like exploring new ideas.
Do you like to
not actually?
Do you like to experience things or talk about them?
Talk about them.
Okay. Do you favor authenticity or validation? Validation being everybody else likes it, or authenticity that it's authentically valuable to you.
What do you mean by that? Like an example.
I mean, I'm asking you the simple version.
If it wait, can you say it again?
Do you prefer? Which do you think is more important? Do you think it's more important that something be authentic or popular?
Not popular. I'm not gonna do something just because everyone does it. Like religion, like it doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Personally.
Do you think that people who do ascribe to religion should be scolded for their wrongness?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't know everything, but I mean, I don't think. I mean, we're all people. I don't think that. I don't know. No, they don't. I just think that anything in extreme is bad. People can do whatever they want.
Okay. What about people who make arguments in favor of God's existence? Do you think those arguments are wrong?
Usually.
What makes them wrong?
Oh boy. Whenever they.
What makes any argument right or wrong?
What makes any argument right or wrong?
Because people, unless it's like science is everything, like it's a study of what is happening. Like I'm not saying that mine is the right way, but it's just like what we have witnessed and what we're.
So data makes something right and wrong?
Data, just valid points. Because I mean,
what makes something valid? If I argue that we should go to eat pizza because I'm really in the mood for pizza, is that an argument? How do you attribute the validity? How do you attribute validity to that argument?
Research. I always like if we're gonna have to eat or something. Yeah, I have to. I'll look at the menu, see.
No, but I'm saying I'm making this argument. You and me should go to get pizza. Because I'm really in the mood for it. Evaluate that argument.
Well, then I would look at, start looking at like deep. Are we gonna do like thin crust, deep dish, regular? What type of pizza are we wanting?
Argument as an argument. Is that a good reason to agree with or disagree with my claim, which is we should go get pizza? I've said here's my claim. And here's a reason why it's true. The reason is I'm really in the mood for pizza.
Well, I could, if I wanted pizza too, I'd probably go. But then if I didn't want it and everybody else did, I would be like, well, dairy, lactose, everybody in a way I think could be is like the way lactose. I would tell them how it's bad for your health or whatever if I didn't want it and make everybody not want it.
But which kind of argument is better or worse, or are they the same, or are they? How does that? You said you prefer arguments that are valid. How does this relate to validity? How does this argument exemplify or not exemplify validity as according to how you determine it?
I mean, it doesn't. If I wanted pizza, I don't know.
Okay, so can you mute for a bit? Yeah. What I'm trying to analyze here in terms of your cognitive functions is how you approach arguments. So, for example, a way to answer the question I just asked you about what to do about the validity of that argument, if you had asked me that question, I would have said something like, well, all I'm doing is expressing that we should get pizza and that I really want to get pizza. Now, basically, implicit in that argument is you should want to make me happy, so since I really want to get pizza, you should go along with it. And so basically, in assessing that argument, I determine whether or not this person was close enough to me for me to care what they really wanted to do, or if I was in a giving or nice mood in general, maybe anybody would really want to do it, then I would give that argument adequate validity. If, on the other hand, I had a strong opinion to the contrary, then I probably would say, well, that's not an adequate reason for us to go anywhere because you want to really go to that place. Aren't you concerned about what I would really like to do? And so I'd say, let's come up with other reasons to justify going to one place or another accordingly. So the validity calculus on the argument, I really want to go to get pizza and that's why we should go, is contingent on those factors. That's an analysis of the argument. What you kept telling me is what you do. And I kept trying to ask you to analyze the argument, but you kept telling me what
Eric,
you do.
You cut out for a sec. You said what? You cut out there for a sec.
I said, so I was saying to you, analyze this argument so that I can tell what kind of thinking you use, what kind of reasoning you use. And certain types use certain kind of reasoning. Kimberly, can you stop that for a second, please? Kim, thank you. Certain types use certain kinds of.
Were you asking me? I was visualizing, if somebody, like a group of people, like my friends or whatever, were asking me, like, do I want to go for pizza? And then, like,
but see,
if I wanted to go, I would go. But then,
what I was asking you
Or
to do
was
is
it-
analyze the argument like this. If person A wants person A and B to do event C, and person A justifies this claim by using argument, I really want it, how should that be interpreted as an argument? It doesn't matter the specifics of it, the pizza, the whatever. I'm saying, as a set of argumentation, as a way of convincing somebody of something, how should we evaluate that way of convincing people? Is that a good way to do it, or not a good way to do it, or whatever? I wasn't actually concerned about what you do in response to that, because that's irrelevant. And there's no right answer. I wanted you to sort of display to me how you think about language. Taylor, you had something to say? My current typing of him is ESFP or possibly ISFP, but I think ESFP.
I mean, you are glitching out pretty hard.
Oh, okay, audio-wise. My bad. Thank you. Okay, so I'm back. Hopefully the audio thing's working okay. Why would one self-type as one's conflictor is an interesting notion. Wow, there's a lot of chat here that I haven't noticed. Can we?
There's a lot of reverb.
I know somebody is echoing. I'm not sure who it is. It stops now.
Sounds like a remix here.
Your audio is awful too, Taylor. Part of the problem here on my end is when the processor power starts requiring too much and there's too much stuff going on the screen, it starts to be a problem. So, okay, so that's why I think that an ESFP is because the arguments you're making, your relationship with the argument is such that it links each time back to the tangible and to what you do, how you do it, whether you do it. And that's why when we ask you purely abstract questions that don't link to anything meaningful, you have a lot of trouble deciding how to answer them.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so I would say it seems to me that you're TI polar with any insecurity, which would be ESFP. And the thing is, the strengths of your type are not strengths that are going to be highlighted in this kind of environment, is another thing. Or not this kind of environment, but this kind of interaction, where I'm asking you a bunch of abstract questions, trying to figure out what you are by eliminating the things I'm most familiar with, basically, is going to be something that's not going to say, here are your strong suits, exactly. It's going to say, here, I've identified where you don't swim comfortably. So that's my assessment of things. Did anybody else want to? I'm looking at the live chat right here. Jeremiah says I seem to be playing.
What's the primary function of ESFP? Or an
primary function of ESFP is
FE?
the primary function of ESFP is SE, and my other possible type that I was suggesting was ISFP, in which case it'd be FI. It's either SEFI or FISE. And
I can see the FE because as soon as you asked him, you said, I'm making an argument because I want to eat pizza and I'm hungry. You want to get that would be like FE, right? You just
I'd be saying my FI is a good reason for us to do stuff.
Okay, I'm still new here too, guys. But you learn quick.
So when I was saying my FI, when I was looking to see how you reacted to it, if you had reacted with TI, you would have critiqued it probably, depending on the development of the TI, by saying that's not a good reason. If you had reacted with FE, you probably would have said something like, well, I'll go along with that because I'll note that I'm being nice to that person, and then that'll help establish that I've got some sort of capital to spend socially. To react in a TE fashion is to go, well, I guess I'd go get pizza. Or to react in an SE fashion would be, okay, well, let's go get pizza there, or something like that. I mean, a TE fashion might be also like, well, what kind of pizza do I want to get? That's not challenging the framing that we're going to get pizza. I just for buying into the framing. An NI approach might say something like, I don't know. Maybe we conflict by saying, well, that's not fair fundamentally, and we should always get something that both people want. TI might say that too. But the thing is, the response that you gave was not a thinking response, it was a feeling response. Mostly, I felt. So that puts us in either FI or FE, ahead of the T. And if you're talking about FI or FE, well, what I hear from you is a lot of TE. TE always goes with FI, and the FI I have a harder time identifying directly. It's my polar, so I understand it at least well, and it's the most wholly subjective, so it's least communicable. But I'm pretty sure that you're FI, SE at the top two, and then the corresponding TE and NI at the bottom two. Anybody in the chat want to help me type this guy? I see the live chat's got some people in it. Who thinks ESFP? I don't know. Okay. You got any comments?
Like the argument with pizza, though, like what I was trying to get at, or maybe I didn't communicate that properly. Maybe because I am hungry, actually. But no, I didn't know that. Like, were you that you're asking me if that was a valid argument? I was trying to say like if we're going to get pizza, like I would want to look at what I would do is start looking at, well, what kind of pizza do we want? Like, are we gonna get like the really thin, thick? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Like that is a ridiculous argument, though. Like if somebody
But pretend the argument's about invading Canada. We should invade Canada because we'll benefit by having all that lumber, getting all those trees. Analyze that as an argument.
I'm sorry, you cut out, Eric.
Hey, mute. All right, so analyze an argument instead that says we should invade Canada, and here's a reason. The reason is they have a lot of timber up there, a lot of trees, and it'll enrich America to gain that additional resource. Plus, we can disperse our population less densely because they've got a lot of land up there. That's the argument. Analyze that as an argument.
What? So, do we not have trees here? I'm confused. Can you say it one more time?
Okay, so we should invade Canada. They have a valuable resource in Canada. It's a lot of trees. And if we take over Canada, we'll be able to have access to that resource, and that will improve our country.
I think we could easily take over Canada, but I would say I don't know. Like,
okay, can you mute? So the thing is, you could say, well, okay, it might be the case. You pointed out that we already have trees here in America. So that's a response that says, that this isn't a good enough reason because we don't need trees badly enough. Okay, but you could address that argument in a lot of different ways. You could say that's not a good enough reason to invade Canada, or you could say, well, that manner of reasoning ought not be used to justify invasion. You could say that if we're going to invade somebody, we ought to invade somebody who's not our ally. You could say that there's lots of ways you could analyze the argument. You could analyze it simply by saying it's a utilitarian argument. It says that we ought to do something based on a predicted outcome, and that prediction metric that we use or the prediction engine that we use to determine whether or not something's likely to happen is itself flawed, and we can't actually predict those things accurately enough to justify that. Or you could argue that as a foreign policy prescription, the United States ought never prescribe aggressive action that is transgressive. It's always immoral to do that. You could argue that it violates international law, and that's a preferable kind of argument to use to determine what we ought to do or what we're allowed to do. You could discuss, historical traditions of liberty-focused policies in the United States and say we should be consistent with our tradition. You could talk about constitutional constraints. There's shit tons of different arguments you could make. And there's ways of analyzing arguments that compare against other kinds of arguments and consider the situation, such as a policy-making decision is in front of you. What should you do? Well, the best way and the only way really to analyze what one ought to do in a policy prescriptive fashion is to analyze all the possible ways one might respond to something and decide which is the best of the available options. And so that's when I keep asking you to analyze an argument. I keep asking you to analyze it in that fashion, to break it down how it relates as a metaphysical object to other such metaphysical objects in an interactive, logical way. That's not something that you naturally do at all, and it's not something that you feel comfortable when called upon to do, which is why I think that your NE is in the 7th or 8th slot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it just, I don't know.
Okay, well, let me talk to Alex over here. Alex
it just seems like a ridiculous argument, I guess. That's the thing.
Well, it is. That's the point. Knowing why it's a ridiculous argument is what I just demonstrated that's part of NE, is being able to analyze why something works as an argument or not. It's easy to say it's a ridiculous argument. It's hard to say exactly why. And there's a lot of reasons that are involved that come out when you analyze something like that. So Alex down there, who's walking upstairs, if you can hear me and you have any questions, want to be typed or want to participate in this, please feel free to unmute and chime in here, because we're ready to type somebody else who wants to type. I don't know if he's in a location or situation at the moment where it's conducive to that. Inquisitive, hello, how are you doing? So what sort of analysis would you make of the Canadian invasion question?
Did you ask me something?
Yeah, inquisitive.
Man, I can't hear some stuff.
How would you respond to the Canadian invasion question?
Wait, can I give you an invasion question, you said?
No, I said, how would you respond to the one I just gave him, the Canadian invasion question? We should invade Canada to get their lumber.
Oh. I was asked that question when I came in, and I said, they might infest us with crabs, so we take them out first. I got the king crab up there in the north.
But I asked you a question that said, give me reasons to invade Canada. The question I'm asking now is different. It says, here's an argument to invade Canada. Your job is to explain what kind of argument it is, or why it's a good or a bad argument, or what would be required for it to be necessary for it to meet the conditions.
I was just asking in a different way, but
it's a different question.
Copy though, so I missed the whole.
Okay, yeah, we're having audio issues here. I'm having audio issues. I think this has become too big a live stream process for my computer to handle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to end the live stream. I'm going to continue talking to people in here. If you'd like to join us in here, please do so. And I'm going to make a couple videos instead of live streaming
in the background.
Thanks for watching.